Brainz. Today's episode is a little shorter than usual, but trust me, it's still packed with great insights. Sometimes the best conversations don't need to be long to be impactful. I didn't want to add any fluff, just straight to the good stuff. So sit back, enjoy, and let me know what you think. Welcome back to Bright Brainz. Today, we're diving deep into the power of mindset and how our own beliefs can hold us back or set us free. My guest today is Paloma Chiara, a life coach who specializes in helping people break through self-imposed barriers and step into their full potential. We'll be discussing what limiting beliefs are, where they come from, and most importantly, how to overcome them. If you've ever felt stuck in a cycle of doubt or like something is keeping you from reaching your goals, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Paloma.
Hello, thank you.
All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, so I was born in the US, in Ohio, from a Colombian mother and a Dominican Spanish father. And straight from Ohio, we moved to Florida. And then there I lived my whole childhood. And then in Mexico, I lived my teenage years. And then as an adult, I moved to France. And now I'm in Spain. So
Awesome. All right, then. So why did you travel so much as a kid? Was there a reason why they moved from Florida to Mexico?
Yeah, each time it was a different reason, but specifically when they moved from Florida to Mexico, it was because they felt that people were a bit too superficial. My mom said that people were always talking about buying the next big house, or every time they were hanging out, it would be like at the shopping center and things like that. And she wanted me to grow up in a more I guess, humble culture.
So you said you're living in Spain now. How does
Yeah.
that feel as opposed to living in the US?
Well, I lived in the US when I was a child, so I don't have a very big comparison on that.
All right,
Yeah.
then. So you are a life coach. Tell us, what is a life coach and what inspired you to become one?
So, a life coach is someone who helps people find goals and achieve them through guidance, motivation, accountability. And what inspired me was actually someone who came into my life who was looking for a life coach in a way. And they sort of saw something in me and they felt like I could really help them. So I did that for about 2 years. And then when that ended, I wanted to continue. That's what inspired me.
All right, then. So you said the first person who they sought you out and you became their life coach?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So what did you help them with?
It was a lot of things. I think one of the biggest was that he felt that no one in his family loved him and he felt lonely. And I kind of helped him see how they actually did. Like it was just that they didn't have very good communication, him and his family. And his family have a very different way of expressing their love to him. So I kind of helped him see that. And that was one of the biggest breakthroughs we had.
So you said as a life coach, you help people find goals and accomplish them. So how do you go about doing that with a potential client?
Um, I mean, it really depends because most people come to me with a specific issue. So I don't really have like a specific structure that I go with every client. I adapt to whatever they need.
Gotcha. And how do you monitor their progress? Do you like just meet with them like once a week or something like that? Or
Yeah, it depends. I set goals with them in some shape or form. For example, if they tell me that they feel they lack motivation, accountability, organization, I'll ask them to number how they feel on those terms from 1 to 10. And then at the end, I'll ask them to do it again to see if there has been any progress.
so I asked you to come on here today to talk about the topic of limiting beliefs.
Mhm.
So what is a limiting belief?
So, a limiting belief is a thought that holds a person back from achieving their goals. It can be a perception about yourself, the world, or anything in particular.
All right. How do people develop these self-limiting beliefs?
They develop in many ways. It can be from past experiences, society, and culture, and it can even be something that your parents would tell you when you were a kid, or that you heard tell themselves or other people.
How do you help people overcome them?
Well, there's many techniques. The first step is awareness. Yeah, they have to identify the belief, and then they also have to question it with evidence. So, for example, if they say, "Oh, I'm someone who can't find success in life," or "I'm just not good enough," then we start looking at all the ways in the past and where they have been successful and they have achieved their goals. And I also make them envision themselves. For example, I'll ask, okay, if you have this belief, how would the next 5 years of your life look like? And then what would it look like if you thought the opposite was true? And then we also counteract it with affirmations. And then they also have to take little steps that continually prove to themselves that their limiting belief isn't true.
Are there any signs or patterns that indicate a person is being held back by their beliefs?
Yeah, procrastination is a big one, and the negative self-talk as well. Also, I take it as a sign if someone is talking absolutes, if their thoughts are very, black and white, because most things in life have nuance. So if you're kind of thinking like, oh, this is always like this, or I always fail, or I'm always bad at this, it's like, no, like there's nuance there.
Shout out to our sponsor, Bad Product, the modern lifestyle brand that specializes in streetwear apparel and accessories. Their dedication to values such as self-care promote an optimistic vibe that is sure to spread awareness, and we are always happy to endorse a small business that ultimately shares common beliefs. Go check out Bad Product for yourselves. They stay with multiple collections, great deals, and specials. Simply use our coupon code VAGABARD for 10% off your final purchase. For the best quality, choose the Bad Product. We appreciate the support, and without further ado, please do stay tuned and enjoy the show.
What are some common self-limiting beliefs that you've encountered while being a life coach?
No matter what I do, I can't do things right. That's a common one. Another one is people will judge me if I make a mistake, and I'm not good enough.
So if somebody says, I can't do anything right, how do you help them overcome that?
Well, first, I would give them an affirmation. For example, instead of saying I can't do things right, I would tell them, say to yourself, I am capable of learning and improving with every step I take. And if they feel a little bit uncomfortable with that, it means that it's working. So it's a sign that they don't believe it's true. But once they repeat it a lot and they take little steps to prove it, then you can see that it's working.
So did you yourself have any limiting beliefs, and how did you overcome them?
Yes, I had a big one that I found through therapy, actually. It was very subconscious. I noticed it because one day she told me when we were talking about my anxiety that she wanted me to feel like I could overcome any obstacle. And when she said that to me, I felt uncomfortable. Like I felt like that doesn't feel true. Like I don't feel like that's true. And that made me realize that it was a limiting belief, even if I had never actually told that to myself. It felt uncomfortable enough for me to notice that I didn't subconsciously believe it. And
So,
yeah, go ahead.
so what steps did you take to overcome that?
Well, that one specifically, I had to make myself realize that I could realistically overcome most obstacles. Like I just imagined myself through different scenarios, and I could think, okay, if this didn't happen to me, I could overcome it, and that as well, and so on.
What makes somebody a good life coach?
Good question. I find that someone who's a good life coach is someone who can really adapt to their clients. I feel like a lot of coaches kind of have the same tool set. And because I've had a life coach as well, and it felt kind of cold because it was like I would come to them and they would do like the wheel of life. Do you know what the wheel of life is?
I don't. What is it?
It's basically where you have to set a number on all the aspects of life in general. So like relationship, career, money, and you would have to give it a rating from 1 to 10 how you're feeling in that aspect. But when I was going to them at the time, it was because I had a specific issue, so in reality this didn't really help me. So it felt like they weren't really listening, and I think that's the most important part, to actively listen and guide them with what they really need with their own tools, and also not like imposing your own views on them.
All right. So if somebody has a self-limiting belief and, obviously they don't have a life coach, what advice would you give them? What first step should they take in order to recognize their own limiting belief and how to overcome that? What would you tell them if you had to give them, like, say, uh, like a 3-step process?
Well, I'm going to start with how to find the limiting belief because that's a big one, and then I'll tell you some steps to overcome it.
Awesome.
So the first one, there's 3 methods that I like. So the first one would be to choose a subject, any subject that you think you might have a limiting belief on. And you just start brainstorming everything you think about it and everything that your parents think about it. And then that way you can kind of start seeing where your beliefs are. Another one is through meditation. I remember at one point in my life when I was procrastinating a lot, I made myself sit down and introspect and meditate. Okay, what's going on? Why am I procrastinating? What fear is underneath? And that helped me find a few limiting beliefs. And another one is journaling. Actually, one thing that I recommended to my clients is that you have a digital journal, and then you can, after many, many entries, you can put it on Notebook LLM AI. Do you know it?
No, I never heard of that. Notebook, you said Notebook LM?
Yeah, Notebook LLM by Google, I think. Yeah. And it's an AI that you can put any document in it and it'll give you basically anything you want. It'll answer any questions. So if you put your journal entries there, you can ask it, what limiting beliefs do you think that I have?
That's interesting. I have to check that out.
Yep.
Was that all 3 steps or was there one more?
No, that was like the 3 suggestions to find limiting beliefs, and then the steps to overcome them. Well, awareness is the first step, and then you can also ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Is it universally true? And what happens if I let go of this belief? Those are some things that can kind of pull you out of that belief that you hold deeply. And then, same as I said before, you have to question it with counter evidence, envision yourself, and use affirmations.
How does someone maintain progress when achieving a goal? A lot of times people will set out a goal and they might start making progress, but then they'll kind of falter or their willpower will kind of wane and they'll lose sight of their goals. So, how does somebody stay on track to achieve their goal?
With limiting beliefs specifically, or in general?
Well, yeah, let's say limiting beliefs, but also in general, how does somebody keep track of, meeting a goal?
Well, for limiting beliefs, I would say that it's very important that you actually stick to the affirmations and say it to yourself daily for a number of days. And also, writing in a journal helps to keep progress. And also, surrounding yourself with supporting people who have the same mentality as you and of growth, that also helps a lot in maintaining progress and reminding yourself to keep working.
So, when it comes to the affirmations, how does that work? Do people just say it to themselves in their head, or do they have to say it out loud? Or
No, they have to say it out loud. It's a lot more
yeah,
helpful. Yeah.
gotcha. So, just like, is there like a certain time of the day or just throughout the day? Like if they're just walking down the street, do they just shout like, I love myself or something?
I think it depends on each person, honestly. If I would say it depends on what moment of the day you feel most anxious. If you feel very anxious before going to sleep, then that's a good time, and vice versa in the morning. Calm down and focus on yourself.
What are some affirmations that you usually give to your clients? Are there like any kind of like broad affirmations that you give to everybody, or
No,
very
definitely not.
specific?
I
No,
always want it to be as personalized as possible. Yeah.
gotcha. So, what are some affirmations you use in your personal life?
Uh, well, the one I told you before from the Liberating Belief, it was I can overcome any obstacle that comes my way. That's a very big one for me. And there's another one. It was I am completely independent of the good or bad opinions of others. That's another one that I really like.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And so, what is one piece of advice you give to someone who is struggling with self-doubt right now?
Well, I would say that this is actually something that I've done myself as well. So it's to make a list of everything you've achieved in life and really sit down and truly appreciate it and see it for yourself. Because people tend to downplay their success and magnify their failures. But if you really sit down and look at it, you can see that you are actually capable of a lot. And also to remember that confidence isn't what you have before action, it's actually what you gain through action.
How should people go about finding a life coach if they want to get one?
Um, I think personally, I would first ask if anyone around me has one to see if they recommend one. If not, there's also Google and there's also Fiverr. I'm on Fiverr, and you can also see like reviews there, which is really helpful.
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't know you could find a life coach on Fiverr. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good website. All
Yeah.
right, then. Other than journaling and Notebook LLM, what are some other resources that will be good for helping people overcome limiting beliefs?
I
Are
always say
there,
those are the most important ones.
yeah. What
Yeah.
about, are there any like books that you've read that have had a pretty good impact on your life?
Um, there is one that focuses on limiting beliefs with money specifically. I would have to look up the name though. I don't know it by memory.
Gotcha. All right, then. Well, this has been a pretty good conversation. I just want to say before we wrap it up, where can people go to find you, and do you have anything that you want to promote?
Well, you can find me on my website, which is Paloma, Paloma, Chiara, CHIARA.com.
Awesome. All right, then. This has been a great talk, Paloma. Learned a lot, and I'm pretty sure my audience will too.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem.
That's a wrap for this episode of Bright Brainz, where curiosity meets conversation. If you enjoyed the ride, make sure to follow, rate, and review the show. It helps more minds find their way here. You can keep up with me on Facebook at Bright Brainz Podcast, on BlueSky at brightbrainzpod.bsky.social, and last but certainly not least, Instagram at bright_brains_podcast. And remember, that's Bright Brainz with a Z. So check me out for behind the scenes content, episode updates, and more thought-provoking discussions. Stay sharp, stay curious, and I'll catch you next time. Keep that brain bright.